Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel and welcome if you're new here. So in this video we're going to be talking about bosses. So what are bosses in Conan Exiles? Now bosses are powerful enemies that can often be distinguished by physical or visual aspects and configured attributes of the game. There are three main types of bosses. You have mini bosses, world bosses and dungeon bosses. All of these types of boss foes stand out from the crowd in a few ways. Size-wise, they're typically much larger than their regular counterparts. Looks-wise, they often have unique colours or markings that really set them apart from the rest. Now, toughness-wise, they boast a significant health pool, making them much harder to take down. Obviously, that's relative to where your character is in the game in terms of the attributes of your character, the weapons you hold and also the armor you have. Damage wise, they hit much harder than regular enemies, and you can also identify a boss by a skull icon appearing within their health bar. So as you get closer to a boss, you should see a skull icon appearing central to their health bar, making them easier to identify if you haven't already. Now, as mentioned before, there are three main categories of bosses that you'll encounter. I'm just going to do a quick summary of each of those types of boss. Number one is a mini boss. These are smaller, easier boss encounters scattered throughout the game world. The second are world bosses. These are the toughest bosses in the game, roaming specific locations and providing the greatest challenges and potentially the greatest rewards as well. And the last but not least, dungeon bosses. Now these bosses guard the treasures hidden within Conan Exiles, surprise surprise, dungeons. In Conan Exiles there are two types of mini bosses. We're going to focus on mini bosses for a moment before we move on to the other categories. Now mini bosses are tougher enemies that can appear randomly or at specific locations throughout the world. They're marked by a single skull next to their health bar, signifying a greater challenge. A standard mini-boss is generally tougher than other enemies, other than elite bosses, and typically inhabit specific areas of the world, though they can also spawn randomly, so be aware and keep alert. Defeating them rewards you not only with some resources, which are usually better than regular enemies of their own kind, but also with a chance to acquire rarer materials and unique items such as exotic flesh or a legendary heart of a hero. Another type of mini-boss to watch out for are the elite mini-bosses, which are corrupted foes, and they're easily identified when getting close up by their glowing blue or orange eyes. These powerful enemies have a chance to appear unexpectedly amongst the regular creatures roaming the open world, so it makes it a bit more random and a bit more exciting, and hopefully you have all the gear to be able to face these creatures. Now, like standard mini bosses, they offer a richer harvest upon defeat, including a chance to score rare materials like demon blood and the elusive shade bloom. Moving on to world bosses. Now these legendary foes are the ultimate test of your strength, marked by a menacing trio of skulls beside their health bar. Now unlike mini bosses, world bosses predictably inhabit specific locations throughout the open world, waiting to challenge worthy opponents as they get closer. There are three types of world bosses: legendary NPCs, legendary creatures, and also legendary bosses. Let's quickly recap on a world boss legendary NPC. Let's just break this down. So a legendary NPC are basically the toughest human enemies you'll encounter, marked by a menacing trio of skulls next to their health bar, just like the world bosses. These formidable foes hold the key to some of the game's rarest treasures, but be prepared for a challenge. Also to add, they're generally immune to stun, so you can forget trying to stun them to gain an advantage. Legendary NPCs are completely unaffected by stun attacks, unless the rules have changed in the main default vanilla game, or you have a mod that changes that. they're generally also unthrallable, so attempts to capture and convert them into your loyal follower using a Wheel of Pain is generally futile, and legendary NPCs are generally too powerful to be dominated, once again, unless the game release changes those rules, and also you might have a mod that changes those rules as well, depending on the server or also the local installation game that you want to play. So moving on to other types of world boss. So a legendary creature is basically the world boss. They are the ultimate remix of all the familiar foes. So imagine the toughest enemy you've faced cranked up fully. They're supersized, so these creatures generally tower above their standard counterparts, a clear visual indicator of their increased power. They have brutal attacks, so prepare to be beaten down or thrown down. They boast significantly stronger attacks compared to their regular versions. They also have enduring resilience. Don't expect a quick fight. You really need stamina, and you need some form of way of maintaining your character throughout the time. Legendary creatures have a much larger pool of hit points, meaning they can take a serious pounding before going down. Conquering a legendary creature isn't just about bragging. Here's what awaits you after a hard-won victory, and it will be hard-won. So you have experience. So facing and defeating such a formidable foe showers you with significant experience points, accelerating your character's growth, although you will need to be at a certain level before you can even approach this level of creature. Resource-rich harvesting. So these powerful creatures usually yield a wealth of resources upon being defeated, making them prime targets for gathering valuable materials. They also have a key to legendary loot, which is 50% chance per hit. Each blow you land on a legendary creature has a chance to drop a skeleton key. Stack the odds in your favour using the detect resource spell or acquiring a careful harvest expertise perks guarantees a skeleton key drop. Now you can also unlock a legendary chest. The coveted skeleton key serves as the key, no pun intended, to legendary chests. These special chests, typically found within dungeons, hold a guaranteed legendary item. Let's move on and finish with legendary bosses, which are the undisputed champions of the open world, marked by the same trio of skulls as world bosses. Now, unlike legendary creatures, however, they guard different treasures. So spawn predictability. Unlike some legendary foes, world bosses have designated lairs within the open world, making them easier to track down and challenge. These locations become hotspots for experienced adventurers seeking a worthy test of their skills, or also the promise of amazing loot. They generally don't have skeleton keys, so while they don't hold the key to opening legendary chests, world bosses offer a different kind of reward, so they'll have rare and legendary drops. If you defeat a world boss, you may be granted a chance to claim some of the rarest treasures in the game, rare items and coveted legendary items. You may also get a fragment of power, so there's a chance of one of these bosses dropping fragments of power, a valuable resource likely used for crafting or upgrading powerful gear. Now you also get frequent respawns, so I wouldn't worry about missing the chance to face these formidable foes. World bosses respawn every 15 minutes or so, allowing you to test your skills and refine your strategies repeatedly. Or if you're playing in a mixed server and you find the boss has already been defeated, then you're effectively just waiting your turn. Last but not least, let's delve into dungeon bosses, who are effectively the guardians of the hidden depths. Now, dungeons are self-contained challenges accessed through separate loading screens or significant enclosed areas. They offer a variety of experiences, from sprawling underground complexes, giving them usually exclusive prizes for venturing into the depths. Now, dungeons often present multiple bosses, with difficulty escalating as you delve deeper. This creates a compelling sense of progression, pushing you to hone your skills and strategize for increasingly powerful adversaries. When delving into the deep of these unknown locations, dungeon bosses not only offer a thrilling challenge, but also hold the key to unlocking further exploration. essential loot, for example. They may drop crucial loot needed to progress through the dungeon, removing obstacles and opening new pathways. Hidden treasures. Now, these guardians act as protectors of valuable items, including unique or legendary equipment and recipes unavailable anywhere else in the game. So some bosses may even drop crafting schematics for coveted gear.
Of men who are not.
So, one thing to just add before we finish up on this: try to conquer at your own pace. The beauty of dungeons lies in their optional challenges. Not all bosses are mandatory. Some can be bypassed if you choose to prioritise a different objective within the dungeon. This also allows you to tailor your experience and tackle challenges at a pace that suits your playstyle, and also depending on your game type at that point in time, whether you're going solo or whether you're part of a group. But just to finish up, you have to ask yourself, are you ready to face these legendary encounters? So the world is teeming with challenges, from the cunning legendary NPCs to the monstrous world bosses. Dungeons are beckoning with their hidden depths and powerful guardians. Choice is yours. So will you seek out these legendary foes and claim your rewards, or will you forge your own path in the vast open world? No matter your decision, one thing is certain: lots of adventure awaits if you want to go and seek it out. Now, if you enjoyed this guide and want to see more like it, please hit the like button on this video and subscribe for more epic game content. Please don't forget to share this video with your friends who might also be interested in conquering these legendary challenges.
I never wanted to be here.
Thanks for watching.